Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Gamepodular Unfocused podcast. I am your host, Scott, and with me for this episode is Hilke and Seskra. How are you both this fine evening for me?
Doing good. It's a national holiday this weekend to the point where, okay, so here's a funny story about how we do things here in the Netherlands. This weekend is King's Day. We are literally celebrating the King's birthday.
Okay.
This year, it falls on a Sunday. But we in the Netherlands were like, don't really want to celebrate it on the Sunday. We basically close the shops on Sundays anyway. Guess what? His birthday's on Saturday this year.
Yep.
So I've had my orange glazed tompoes pastry, and I'm ready to record some video game opinions.
We actually have a similar thing here because we've just had the Easter holidays, obviously. And we've also, this Friday, we've had Australia and New Zealand have had Anzac Day.
Yes.
Ooh, yeah.
So have you both heard of that?
I have. I've also heard of Anzac biscuits.
Yeah, that's commemorating that's like commemorating the service of Australia and New Zealand, like armed forces personnel during World War I, right?
Exactly. So that fell on a Friday this year. But I believe if that falls on a weekend, then that goes into the Monday.
Hell yeah, long weekend, baby.
So,
Nice.
Well, that's it. Nice. And Seska, how are you going?
Also good. I very modestly celebrated the King's birthday. Keeping with the orange theme, I got myself a big old jar of apricot jam.
Ooh.
Turns out if you mix that into tea, it's really good.
Oh.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Highly recommended. Yeah. Mix into tea or try it with goat cheese. Both recommended.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
How about you, Scott?
Yeah, nothing. I got nothing.
Huh?
I'm a boring old sod.
Fair enough.
No, I actually do have some exciting bits. But yeah, we'll actually bring that up now because let's go into what we've been playing during the last episode. For you, Hilke, previous episode before that.
Yeah, sorry, I've been really busy with I said this before the recording as well, but sort of like halfway through March to halfway through May, my family just has like 70 million birthdays, seemingly, including my own. And so I was just not available for like 5 weekends in a row. Also, during the week, I was dealing with YouTube stuff for Gamepodular, which is just so fun. I'm glad we're on YouTube, and if you haven't heard of that, youtube.com/@Gamepodular. I don't know why we had to get the @ in there. I didn't put it in there. YouTube did. But you can listen to our podcast on YouTube now. So like, share, subscribe, smash the bell for notification. I hate doing this, but yeah. It works. It's one of those things.
Problem.
It is. We are part of the problem now, but it is one of those things that unfortunately also just works. You know?
It's part of the dance.
Yeah.
It's part of the dance.
Yeah. Also part of the dance, patreon.com/Gamepodular.
I was gonna say that.
I figured I'm on a roll. Might as well add that in there as well. Sorry to usurp your position as host for a little moment there.
No, that's right. If you didn't mention it, I probably would have forgotten it. So thanks for bringing it up. All right, let's get into what we've been playing. So, I've been going through the Kingdom Hearts series. Now, while I was actually playing that, I was playing Dream Drop Distance, which I was playing on from the previous episode, and so I'll continue off with that. I was sitting in my lounge room. I installed it on my RG LAX. It's got Bazzite Linux operating on there, so SteamOS works really well. Although for Dream Drop distance, that's a bit of an issue. I'll get into that. But as I was doing it, I had to look up because I'm in the lounge room. And I had a look, and it's like I've got a great big 55-inch 4K Samsung TV, and on each side, on the left-hand side was the PlayStation 5, and the right side was the Xbox Series S. And I'm thinking to myself, I have not played those two in a long while. And I was just looking there, thinking, I really enjoy this portable. I'm thinking, should I be playing more games on the TV? Anyway, I was looking and thinking, do I actually need both of them? Because, well, really, the PlayStation 5, if we're counting, the war or the fight between the PlayStation and the Xbox, obviously the PlayStation 5 has sold many more units. Xbox, Microsoft themselves have been having a lot of trouble, trying to declare. Now they're declaring everything is an Xbox. So they're changing their strategy. And, I'll get about front with all their recent stuff with the all AI nonsense and other questionable business practices that they're putting the money into. I just decided, you know what? I'm going to actually trade both of them in, and I'm going to get myself a PlayStation 5 Professional.
We got a real pro gamer in our midst.
Oh, yes.
That's right, baby. Recycling jokes from our group chat. Woo!
Woo!
Save the planet.
Yes,
Recycle a joke.
Oh, no, there's much recycling. I mean, this one is slimmer. It's a bit taller, but it's actually slimmer. And one of the reasons why it's slimmer is that it doesn't have a disk drive.
Boo. Boo.
How big is the hard drive?
That is actually 2 terabytes. Like, it was, it's a 2 terabyte SSD internally. I don't know what's actually formatted as, but
I mean, that sounds like a lot, but if Steam is to be believed, then God of War Ragnarok is like 1/4 of a terabyte, so it can hold 8 God of War Ragnaroks.
Well, would you need any more Ragnaroks? I mean, 8 is just enough. I mean, you don't want to go too low and have something like 5 Ragnaroks. You gotta have at least 7 or something. But I just know with the original PlayStation 5, it had a 1 terabyte SSD internally, but it was about 850 gigabytes. I don't know the exact number. Apologies for that. But it wasn't anywhere. It wasn't close to 1 terabyte. So this one at least is actually closer to its advertised drive space. But yes, it is missing a disk drive as a cost-cutting measure. Now, thankfully, you can buy an additional drive for it. Although some might question why you need to actually purchase another drive, Blu-ray drive, when it's an actually professional machine. You spent all this money on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would.
Could they not just? Now, up front, I don't have any physical PlayStation 5 games, so that was not a big concern for me. Although, because now I don't have an Xbox anymore, I don't have a Blu-ray player on my TV. So,
right, yeah.
I don't actually own any Blu-rays. But if the situation does arise, I am screwed. Unless I go in and I pay an extra $124 for an external, for another drive.
Does your PC have a Blu-ray drive?
No, I have a M4 Mac Mini, so it doesn't have a drive.
Right, yeah. Because my optical drive is a Blu-ray drive, and I always forget that it's a Blu-ray drive. I use it more for DVDs than I do Blu-rays.
Oh yeah, I actually do want to get an external Blu-ray drive for my computer. Although I've never needed it. I just wanted it in case I had that situation. But anyway, so I get myself a PlayStation 5 Pro. then I realized I don't actually technically have any PlayStation. I only have like a handful of PlayStation 5 Pro enhanced games. I think the most effective one probably would be Spider-Man Remastered and Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Nice.
But, I mean, playing on it, I really couldn't tell the difference. That's because that was originally a PlayStation 4 game.
Yeah.
Going onto the PlayStation 5, so it was already enhanced.
Yeah.
But imagine, I mean, it was just, when I both tried them in, I didn't have to pay really any, like only like about $80 to cover the costs. So effectively $80 for a PlayStation 5 Pro.
Nice.
It freed up one of my HDMI ports, and now that PlayStation 5 now uses the HDMI 2.1 port, so I can use 120 frames per second if need be, and better HDR support. But no, I've actually got to go ahead and get myself a proper PlayStation 5 Pro enhanced game.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if Astrobot is PlayStation 5 Pro enhanced. I mean, I've got to get it because I absolutely love the Playroom.
Mm-hmm.
So I should actually invest in that. And I was a silly person. I ended up completing the professional thing and getting myself a PlayStation 5 DualSense Edge controller. So that is the professional controller.
With
So
like
tell you what,
extra extra squishy triggers. Like, what's the difference?
okay, so the triggers are still as squishy, although you can adjust it to be less squishy. So more of a like instant hit,
Right?
instead of like a mouse click. Although you still got a little bit of give, so it's not all the way, like it's not an actual click. The most important thing was that it's got back buttons.
Oh,
look,
yeah. Nice.
after using after using this Steam Deck ROG Ally, my Xbox Elite controller, which up front, people, do not get yourself an Elite controller from Xbox. It will just the glue, because it's got rubberized texture, and the glue will just wear out and it'll just expand.
8-bit do make really good controllers. Hall effect sticks. We talk about them sometimes on Unfocused as well. I have like the wired like Xbox One controller for my PC. It also has back buttons. I confess I've literally never used them, but I'm glad that they're there. If nothing else, I just love fiddling with them while I'm like, I just press them even though nothing happens. But it's a great controller. Big fan.
Yeah, it's just that kind of close. I use them for like, say, if I'm playing like a shooter, like say Doom Eternal or the bad one, Fortnite, which I did. We did play quite a bit on the actual PlayStation 5 Pro, ran absolutely great. But I just like it just because I can actually use it like a jump button and still use the right stick to move around.
Nice.
So it's basically there. I will say though, battery life is horrendous on this thing. Like the PlayStation 5 already had questionable battery life. This one has a smaller battery.
What?
It has an actual, because I think it's like 1500. I don't know what the actual specs are. 1500 milliamp. I don't know if that's the actual PS5.
So do you think that's like more cost cutting or just like why would they make their controller less good at having
to
good
make it
battery?
more professional?
So, the original PlayStation 5 had a 1560 milliamp battery.
Mm-hmm.
The DualSense Edge has a 10,050 milliamp battery, so 33% smaller.
Oof.
But why .gif?
I think it's because they got a lot more. It must be a lot more internal stuff inside of it, so I had to make the battery smaller.
Yeah, I suppose things like the back buttons, like that, and the wiring you need for that, like if there's more stuff in the controller, there is less room for the battery. Does it at least
you
support
don't really
like a
want to
wired
make the
option?
controller bigger as well.
Yeah. So Yeah. It actually, so that's the thing. It does support wired, and actually, what it does, it actually has an attachment where you can actually put like a sort of a locking mechanism on it, so you can actually lock the USB-C cable.
Oh, nice.
So it won't just actually go out. So I think that's what they say their justification is for. Professionals use. If you're a professional, you'll actually use it. Connected up to your console, but. I mean, come on. I mean, apparently the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, the original, has like a 1300 milliamp battery, and that lasts about like 40 hours.
I believe you.
But that's sort of the thing. That controller is one you don't really think about, and then when it goes like a low battery warning, it's like, oh, okay, low battery. All right, I'll play with it, and then when I'm finished, I'm just gonna hook it up and leave it charge overnight.
Yeah.
But this PlayStation 5, it's like you go low battery, it's like, oh no, this might actually go down pretty soon. So, yeah. But apart from that, everything else about the controller is great. It's apparently got swappable top sticks for the thumbsticks, and it's actually you can actually replace the actual thumbstick module itself.
Oh,
you actually pull it out and put another one. So the whole dreaded drift with these sticks nowadays, you can actually replace the whole thing just apparently easily.
Nice.
That does sound really tempting. Yeah.
That's one way to get around the drift issue if you don't want to use more expensive components in construction. Just sell individual modules and contribute more e-waste to the world.
Yeah.
I appreciate that it's at least a solution, and the replaceable tops is also very nice. I say this as somebody who, once upon a time, I spent a very long time playing on the Xbox 360 controller that came with my original Xbox 360. That boy held up for a very long time.
Yeah.
And by the time it finally gave out, there was no more rubber left on that thumbstick. It was bare plastic because I had rubbed it off from like thousands of hours of play.
Do not take that out of context, please, folks.
The moral of the story is always make sure you have rubber when rubbing it off.
And from that, I'm going to discuss more of the family-friendly game, Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
So I ended up playing and finishing Drop During Distance. Had really weird issues with it on the handheld. Just no matter what sort of, because the Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 and all those in that one package, you ran the game about like 13 watts, and it ran gave about say like 8 hours of battery life on the thing,
right?
Which is really good for a portable thing. Like it's a lower usage game.
Yeah.
So you'll see that, but it's still impressive. But this one, Drop During Distance, it would just jump up to like about 30 watts at particular points. I'm thinking, why is it doing that? But and sometimes it had even frame stutters, which is really, really weird.
That is because it's originally a 3DS game, right? Dream Drop Distance, which is why it was called that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is very much a 3DS game. The amount of sections, like, you can see, like, oh, okay, this is the thing. You sort of had to rub the bottom screen, to pet your pet. There's a whole section where you drop into an actual, drop into a world, and it's actually, you're either Sora or Riku. You can see, oh, this is what they're going to use for the 3D effect on a 3DS.
Yeah.
But this game just continue on the Kingdom Hearts story. Probably not my favorite out of the whole series, but it was enjoyable. Then with that, it was a 2.8 final passage package that I got with that. That came with a oh my goodness, let me have 2.8. Oh, let me have it.
Oh yeah, the classic Kingdom Hearts naming conventions.
Yeah, keeping this chronology in order is like It's a Herculean effort.
I mean, that's at least a nice thing about these collections that Scott is playing, right? Is they will just let you play everything in order.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the package itself was Kingdom Hearts HD 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue. And the actual the next game was Kingdom Hearts 0.2 Birth by Sleep, a fragmentary passage. This was it's a sequel of effect to the PSP game, Birth by Sleep, and it acts as sort of a prequel to the NES game Kingdom Hearts 3. This is where you play as Aqua. She's being delved into the depths of darkness. Not going to get too much of it. This is sort of the first game that actually went into the Unreal Engine. So effectively going from like a PS2 game to Unreal Engine 4, PlayStation 4 sort of game.
Mm-hmm.
Quite the glow up,
Yeah.
I would say. And just how it moved, very refreshing. But yeah, nothing too much. It's only like about I'd say about an hour and a half to finish it all. It's just a complimentary and just explains everything with her, Riku, and King Mickey.
I only just realized what they did with the title. It's 0.2 because 0.2 plus 2.8 is 3. Very subtle.
And then we got the last thing. It's like Kingdom Hearts X back cover. This is apparently it's a 1 hour long cinematic film set in the events of the video game Kingdom Hearts X. That was the mobile game. I'm just reading off the Wikipedia, sorry. It basically just tells the story from the foreteller's perspective. This is like the prequel to everything, explaining sort of, this society, all these like vast amount of keyblade wielders. Yeah, they've got these leaders and they go up and form their own unions. It's a backstabbing. And look, if you don't really need to know this, basically, if you're really into the Kingdom Hearts thing, the series, you'll play through this.
Yeah, that stuff is that's not the Lord of the Rings of this franchise. That's the Silmarillion.
Yeah. And then after all that, I was able to finally get into Kingdom Hearts 3.
Kingdom Hearts 3, the, what was it, 12th game in the franchise?
Don't worry about it.
I will put an upfront spoiler. For the first say 40 minutes of the game, you're playing through the game, and then when it gets to the end of that bit, it goes Kingdom Hearts 2.9.
Oh God.
How dare they?
But then it goes you play a little bit more, and then it goes another title screen, which is Kingdom Hearts 3. I did not realize this game was released in January 2019. Mm-hmm. I know that's 6 years ago, but because this was a PlayStation 4 Xbox One game, I was thinking there was something along the lines like late mid 2015. I was thinking, I didn't realize it was real. That was just a year and a bit before this current generation consoles, the PlayStation 5 Xbox Series consoles were released.
Mm-hmm. It took its sweet time getting here.
It did. And I gotta admit, it shows. Like I was saying before with the 0.2 Birth by Sleep passage, they jumped from the quality of like PlayStation 2 quality to PlayStation 4, and it shows. I mean, the first sort of section you go through is the Hercules section, which has been in Olympus, which has been Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, and the PSP game.
Chain of Memories.
And so, whichever, there's probably a million of them I haven't considered yet. But no, it shows just really the textures and that, the model quality. It did look a bit flat, obviously, with the Hercules characters because they're coming from purely 2D hand drawn animation to sort of a 3D environment, like actual
Yeah, it makes
PlayStation
sense.
4. It's not just sort of like PlayStation 2 quality. But no, it was still really impressive. And then you get into the worlds that you play through it. Now, from what I understand, reading up on it, is that Noriyama really wanted actually to work with Pixar properties back in Kingdom Hearts 2. Apparently, there was because Pixar hadn't been sold to Disney at that stage.
Mm-hmm.
There was still an issue like rights holding in that. Apparently, that got sort of when Pixar was bought by Disney. But I sort of had a feeling, because you can really tell they really leaned into, because the other worlds are Toy Story, Tangled.
Right. Mm-hmm.
There's a Pirates of the Caribbean, based on the third movie.
Oh no.
Yeah. Arendelle, which is the Frozen. Monsteropolis, Monsters Inc., and San Francisco.
From Big Hero 6.
That's exactly right. So it sort of really leans heavily into the Pixar and then the other 3D Disney movies like Frozen and Tangled. And I don't think Big Hero 6 was Pixar, was it?
I think it was. I admit it's hard to keep track, but to Wikipedia. Walt Disney Animation Studios. So still owned by Disney, but I don't think that's not Pixar, I don't think. Yeah.
I did want to briefly ask, just play with me in this space. Obviously, you said that there's Pirates of the Caribbean 3 in this game. What do you think the odds are that like Kingdom Hearts 4, for instance, is going to have like Pirates of the Caribbean 5? Because that movie sucks. Like, it's so bad. I've watched it. That's how I know it sucks.
I
What
don't
see
know.
them bring in.
I mean, they did it for Kingdom
like
Hearts
other
2.
like live action Disney stuff. Like I know there's also the Tron worlds and some of the other games, but like I think we can cast a little bit of a wider net.
Oh, hell yeah. Let's bring in John Carter of Mars. Or the Lone Ranger. Willow.
God, I can't remember any.
That would actually be pretty sick.
Yeah. Poor Willow. That would be if they didn't take it off Disney Plus.
Andor.
Yeah. Well, then there's a whole thing, with it being putting into Marvel and Star Wars.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of want to see Goofy shake hands with Darth Vader. The Gorsh is strong with this one.
What's the dumbest MCU character that we can shove into Kingdom Hearts? I mean, the obvious answer here is Howard the Duck. Yeah.
Howard the Duck. Howard meets Donald. Do it, you cowards. Anyway, now that we've lost half our subscribers.
So look, just going from this, like the obviously Toy Story and Monsters Inc. look absolutely insane compared to their original incarnations on film. There's a digital fan drew video of they actually show off the comparison between Kingdom Hearts 3 and Toy Story, the original's Toy Story. And while a lot of it is like, okay, you can clearly see, the original Toy Story had some leg ups with its rendering. That was still on a thing that it'd take about 30 hours to do a single frame. Whereas this one's doing about, like I say, like 33 milliseconds per frame. And even more if it's like 120 frames per second device. So it was like, it's actually it's still mind blowing. Like I was playing it on a tiny souped up computer handheld, but still, like on this thing here, I was able to actually recreate something that was actually had done by supercomputers back in the day. No, this one played. This one game goes back to sort of like the Kingdom Hearts 2 sort of play style, where you've got sort of a mana system. So like in the original like Birth by Sleep and the Drip Drop Distance, every attack that would have a cooldown. Like you had your normal standard attack, but then any other attack, like say like your Cure ability or Fire ability, it would be its own cooldown. Whereas this one goes back to Kingdom Hearts 2, where you use up your mana meter for so your fire, your thunder, and that. And then once that actually depletes, then it recharges, so you're not able to use any abilities. But yeah, it's I preferred the actual Birth by Sleep, like the PSP and the 3DS ones. But at least you didn't go back to the original Kingdom Hearts, where you had to actually get elixir to recharge. This game also put back the sort of the what's it called? Sort of the flow motion system, where you can go by sort of any like a pole or a wall and sort of bounce off of it and do like a flow motion attack style towards the enemy. This game also had a form change. Is a new key mechanic. This you had different key. Obviously, you had different keyblades throughout the game. You could actually unlock certain abilities with those keyblades. So, say like you had like a the 1/6 keyblade, you actually go in and it can turn to sort of like a yo-yo system. The Pirates Caribbean one that gets into like a spear, like a sort of like a pirate spear, and then into a flag. To do some different attacks, and then you've also got situation commands. So if you're like near Donald or Goofy, they can do like Donald will if you're near Donald, when you it's sort of like a meter that you somewhat charge up, and then you hit the Y button, and then like Donald you will shoot out like fireworks flare. Goofy you jump on Goofy's shield, and then he jumps off here, and then you bang Goofy in towards the enemy. And then you also got ones called attractions, which are a type of situation command. And these ones from like theme park attractions, so like the ship from Pirates of the Caribbean, the teacup ride, the white water rafting ride, and the merry-go-round.
Okay.
I tell you what, these ones, because these are basically like filled with like colored lights. I tell you what, after these like spots are going, you just feeling like, oh, my eyes are burning. Like so many colors.
Those classic Unreal Engine particle effects.
Oh goodness,
they really are just painting with all the colors of the wind.
Boo.
But I ended up I finished it a couple of days ago. Long-winded story. My goodness, it sort of had the Metal Gear Solid trying to tie up every loose end situation.
Yep.
Like it's still obviously trying to this like Kingdom Hearts is not finished, but it is trying to sort of complete this story arc, which really was. It's just basically trying to say that the end this bad guy, they're finally done. So yeah, that was that. And then with this Kingdom Hearts, it also comes with DLC. And this is called Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind. Now, I believe this was released back in it was released a year later originally on consoles.
Mm-hmm.
But I played it straight after the when I finished Kingdom Hearts 3. I should not have done this. But I absolutely love I love Kingdom Hearts 3. I thought the gameplay was fantastic. The story is obviously very involved, but I was sort of trying to keep up and try and get in. I'm into it, and so I had an absolutely fantastic time. But I should have done with this, and I just played this a year later, because what it is effectively just rehashing of the final boss fight, the Remind part.
Huh.
And all it is that you sort of, it's sort of like the character towards, I won't spoil it, character towards the end has to sort of effectively go back in time and sort of work out how to help this other character out. And what you end up doing, there's some extra cutscene to sort of explain where some other characters have been, sort of key in a little bit more of the plot. But really, it's just a majority of the time, it's just you refine the boss fights. The only difference is that sometimes, like if you're like, I was wondering, one time you're fighting with Riku, and this time you can actually choose as Sora or Riku. And I think to myself, it may be nice to play as Riku, but it's like, I've leveled up Sora. I've worked towards him. Why would I want to play as Riku, who's just base stats, effectively?
In case you wanted a bigger challenge?
If you want a better haircut?
I think that's what it is. And actually, there's another section there called, what is it called? There's another thing, downloadable content. Let me have a check here. No. There's another thing called limits cut. What it is that you end up finding like rehashed versions of older bosses, and apparently from what I hear, it's just like super difficult. And that was like, I'm just closing my hands like, I'm not going to deal with that. If I really need to go into story, I'll watch it on YouTube.
Yeah, I think that's like for the sickos. Like. And when I say sicko, I know sickos has multiple connotations. I mean it in the good way in this case. It's for the super hardcores who are just like, I got to get every microsecond of content out of this game because I love it so much.
Mm-hmm.
It is, yes. It is for the enthusiasts, and I like Kingdom Hearts. I am into the series, but I am an old man. I've got I've got time that I need for other things. I cannot get good at some things. I was good enough. Let me just have it as that.
Yeah.
And that is now Kingdom Hearts, the series.
So far.
I've done it.
What about Melody of Memory?
Seskra, I have done it. I have done Kingdom Hearts out so far. I'm waiting for Kingdom Hearts 4. No, look, honestly, I know that I will wait that probably until it goes on special.
That's fair, yeah.
Because that's about like $90 Australian. That's $10 more, even like your standard Switch game.
Yeah.
So I'll wait that until that goes down. Although, who knows? But yeah, that is at the moment now. That is me with Kingdom Hearts.
Unironically, I'm very proud of you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, like the combination of you having talked about Kingdom Hearts for the past like 3 or 4 episodes now, and also just Rosalie on Unfocused also being a big fan, is like, I've owned the ones you've been playing on Steam for ages, and it's making me seriously want to like go for it. I probably won't talk about it on the podcast if I do, because again, it's material that's already been covered, but it would be nice to get context for the stuff that I have played, which is, again, as a reminder, Chain of Memories and 358 Days Over 2 and the demo for Dream Drop Distance.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the list.
Yes. It's on the list. Okay, so from Kingdom Hearts series to something very, very recent, both you, Hilka, and Sasha have been playing some Monster Hunter Wilds. How's the Monster Hunter going? Have you caught any good ones?
Oh yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, we've caught a couple good ones. We also killed a couple good ones, because that's also part of it.
We studied them. Okay, we're doing this for research.
Well, strictly speaking, there were some of them that we had to kill for the protection of the villages and stuff. Story.
And some of them because you wanted a nice coat.
Yeah.
Oh, we have some extremely nice coats, let me tell you.
We're splitting hairs here right off the bat.
Don't even get me started on the coats that our cats are wearing.
But yeah, do you? We both have notes on it. Do you? Who's got to go first?
Take it away, okay.
Okay, so I'm a big Monster Hunter fan. I've talked about both Rise and Wild and World on this podcast before. My history with the series goes back earlier than that. I think when I really got into it was Monster Hunter 4 on the 3DS. And I did pay attention to a decent amount of the marketing for this game, and I would say in general that it broadly lived up to my expectations. We're going to get into details in that in a second, but in the big picture, it looks great, it plays great, and I found the story very interesting. There are some complaints that I have about it. I consider those complaints to be relatively minor. They tried a bunch of new stuff with this one, and more or less the main problems were just implementation with the new stuff that they tried. Like, I could see what you were going for. You didn't quite get there, but I appreciate the attempt. What about you, Saskia?
I'd say I agree with that, yeah. Yeah, like, I got into Monster Hunter starting with World. Really, really love World. That's easily, like, top 5 favorite games. I wasn't as much into Rise. I enjoyed it, but it didn't feel like a sequel to World, which is what I wanted. Wild very much feels like it's trying to be a sequel to World, and is more of a sequel than Rise was. I'm sort of in the same boat as you are. Like, it looks gorgeous. The game is just casually pretty all of the damn time, and the combat is still a lot of fun. The co-op, great time. I have notes. I was going to say nitpicks, and I'm like, nah, this actually bugged me enough that it would go above nitpick. As Yuka said, they try a bunch of stuff here that's not new to gaming, but new to the franchise. Because Monster Hunter, there is story and characters. It's not a priority, and the game doesn't try to pretend like it is. Like, in the previous games, the character names would just be like the Commissioner or the Admiral. And that's just what their names are. And it's fine. That's all they really need to be.
Yeah.
This game puts a lot of emphasis on things like characters and world building, narrative cohesion, a verisimilitudinous presentation.
Your character has voiced dialogue for the first time that I am aware of.
And, like, those are good things, nice things that I approve of, and I'm glad they're striving towards them. Where they struggle is reconciling those things with the gameplay. And there's a specific example I want to give here. They made the decision, how about the characters that you frequently interact with for mechanical reasons, like, say, blacksmith or shopkeep, what have you, how about those are actually, like, named characters now, with personalities, who get involved in the story?
Yeah.
That sounds like a good thing. On paper, it works, and there's times in the game where it does work.
I really like Gemma, the blacksmith. She's great.
Gemma is the example I'm going to give of where it kind of stumbles.
Oh, really?
Because I like Gemma. I like Gemma, but where they run into problems is, okay, our characters are involved with the story, so we're going to have a story beat where Gemma disappears from the camp. She's away on assignment, hasn't come back yet, so the player has to go find her. And this is now a moment in the game where you cannot craft new gear anymore, because she's your blacksmith and she's not there.
Oh.
Yeah. See, I had a similar example to this as well, of no, I forgot his name. The little boy.
Nato?
Nata, yes.
No,
Nata is a
Nata,
very important character for the story. Like, he's basically, his appearance is sort of the inciting incident for the plot. And over the course of the game, he becomes like a person you have to talk to for both plot progress, and he will also start getting he will become like the go-between between villages and stuff. Because there's different villages that have different unique things about them, and you can item trade and all that stuff.
Yeah, so it becomes mechanically relevant as well.
Yeah, and so he's supposed to be at every one of your tents in every base camp in the area, except when it is plot relevant for him to be in a specific place. So he is just not at your tent in any of the other places. And so if you want to do item trading for some of the exclusive materials that you get from item trading, too bad.
Yep.
Are these plot points, sorry, are these plot points, do they involve like something like you have to take down a monster? Or is it the case if you got up, oh, okay. It's not a case of, you have to go to this place to effectively pick up this person. It's actually, you have to go to the place, you have to destroy this monster, then you can save this person.
Well, it's a little bit of...
It varies from case to case.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it is just like, they aren't in their usual spot, they're in a different spot. But if you go talk to them, it's one cutscene's worth of dialogue, and then they're back again.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's, you have to actually hunt down a monster. Sometimes for bigger things, it's like a few quests in a row where things are not as they should be, because this isn't just like characters being out of place. Sometimes it's like, no, there's an entire zone that's just off limits for like 5 monsters in a row because plot reasons. So if you were hoping to complete an armor set from a monster that's in that zone, too bad.
Or like this game has a weather system. There's 3 ways that a zone can be in terms of weather. Fallow, plenty, and super awesome fun times that has a different name in each zone. So like massive rains in the Scarlet Forest or lightning storms in the Windward Plains. It's contextually
and sometimes a zone will just get locked into one of those modes until you resolve it.
Now, I do want to
go ahead. Yeah.
Make it clear that a little bit of our problem with this implementation is our fault. Because we have an agreement, the two of us, that we play the story bits together, even though that frequently means that we're doing the same quest separately, but at the same time, because Monster Hunter is weird with cutscenes, and going into people's quests is not possible until after you've seen the cutscenes and stuff. It's a little annoying. This was a problem in World as well. If you're just like playing it on your own, you could just do that. But if, say, the other person is busy for a couple of days, and this genuinely happened, like I couldn't play for a couple of days, and Sesker was just like doing side quests, grinding, making armor. And we were at a point in the story where Alma, the handler, would tell you, hey, you should go to this person and talk to them after every quest you did.
And before every quest I did. And sometimes during, when she felt like it.
Yeah.
And, some of us, as you said, that's an us problem because we have this gentleman's agreement. But I do want to stress, this kind of thing can and does happen to people who play single player as well, because there are things besides the main plot that the game itself wants you to do. Things like weekly bounties, which actually have time limits on them, so there's pressure to get them done on time. And sometimes they're just like, well, I would love to be able to do that, and there's a zone that would really help me with that, but guess what? That zone is not available right now. It's... like, the idea behind these decisions is that it's cohesive and realistic, and
verisimilitude
flows
is
narratively.
The big word for it.
Yeah. In practice, it often feels like a pain in the ass. And it's actually sort of, it takes me out of the experience a lot of the time because it's drawing attention to a mechanical inconvenience. So even though I'm supposed to get more invested in the world, I actually get pulled out of it.
Yeah.
This is a recurring stumbling block with the game that World didn't have. Like, World was more gamey. It felt more like each quest was a very self-contained thing. The plot never moved unless you decided to make it move. It didn't try to present itself nearly as naturalistically, and that meant it flowed a lot more smoothly, if we're being honest. It was a lot easier to just do what you felt like for hours at a time.
Another great example of something like this, of good idea, awkward implementation, is one of the main draws of Wilds, supposedly, is instead of having to start each quest separately, you can theoretically be in the base camp of the area and just walk out into the zone. Like, no loading screen, just you're in the zone now, and you can hunt any of the monsters that are on the map. You can turn them into quests from the map or just by fighting them for a bit. And frequently the ones on the map will have like bonus rewards to incentivize you to do it. If you want to do that in multiplayer, you have to take 3 steps, which is too many. First, you have to be in the same lobby as the person you want to do it with. Then you have to be in a link party with them, and that is going to help you, like, if a quest starts, they'll get a notification for, hey, a quest has started. Do you want to join? Yes, cool, let's do it. Mm-hmm. If you want to run into the environment and do quests like that, you also have to set up an environment link, which is even more messing around in the menus.
Because if you forget to do that last part, then as soon as the two of you walk out of the base camp, the game will generate separate instances of the game world for both of you. Yeah. I don't know why that is the default. Like, we're already linked. Like, I approve of having the option to make those separate, in case people are at different points of progression in the game and you want to make sure that you have an opportunity to grind for something that maybe the other person can't do right now, say because of a story reason. But I feel like the default should be everybody is in the same instance, and the game is not set up that way and makes it, as you mentioned, entirely unnecessarily too convoluted to actually achieve that state.
Yeah. It took us a while to actually realize that we needed environment link for that. Because we would often, like, we spent, like, a part of an afternoon just being like, okay, well, we can see each other in the base camp, but then when we move out, it also sometimes just took a while to be able to see each other in the base camp. And I think, like, being in a link party makes that time a lot shorter? ? Mm-hmm. I think I'm trying not to, like, get
this is a downside of playing an online multiplayer game. Yeah, this is a downside online multiplayer close to launch, because it could be hard to tell what was like a not great system and what was a perfectly decent system that's just horrifically overloaded, because dear God, they had a lot of people playing simultaneously. I don't know how the servers didn't catch fire.
Yeah, it is the fastest selling Capcom game of all time, I think.
That sounds about right, yeah.
Fun fact, I know I shared this on Blue Sky at the time. Pocket Pair, the developers of Pal World, were getting, in the week that Monster Hunter was going to launch, just a lot of messages from their employees that, ooh, sorry, I can't work this Friday. I have a thing. And then they looked it up and were like, huh, Monster Hunter Wilds releases that Friday. Is that perhaps why all of you are taking the day off? Yeah. Okay, everybody gets the day off on Friday, which is incredibly based.
Mm. I do want to stress that, like, none of these things we're saying mean the game doesn't play well when you are actually playing it. Like, when the both of you are just in a quest, it's a good time.
Yeah. I want to reiterate a number of times that, like, we're talking about mostly the criticisms, because this is a game and a series that both of us really, really like. And so the criticisms are the ones that stood out to us as contrast to everything else that was really, really good. Because there was a lot of it that was really, really good. But it is kind of hard to talk about without just saying the same things that I've said about World and Rise. Because, like, there's new additions to, like, focus mode, for instance. It's a new way of attacking. If you target a body part on a monster enough, it'll create a wound. And then by holding down left trigger on your controller and attacking with right button, you'll do like a combo against that body part and deal extra bonus damage and get bonus rewards. Cool idea. Makes the game a little too easy, in my opinion. Uh,
In
and
general, yeah, the game is a little too easy. Like,
yeah,
I'm not kidding when I say this. I literally made it all the way to the end credits without failing a single quest or having to retry a mission even once.
yeah,
It wasn't until I was like deep into post-credits content, over 100 hours deep into the game, that I actually failed the quest.
yeah,
And look, I don't want to sound like an insufferable FromSoft fanboy, but if I can play your game for 100 hours without having to retry anything, it's too easy and it needs to be more challenging.
yeah, for sure. And there is a part of it of just like, we are pretty good at this game. That is not something we have to discount. But I do also want to say, I did earlier last year play a new save file of Monster Hunter World. I started from scratch, picked a different weapon. I picked Longsword, and playing that game again, even after like 200-ish hours of World and 400 hours of Rise, some of those early quests against like even low rank, like the first Tobi Kadachi you fight or the first Anjanath you fight, they can really kick your butt if you're not ready for it. But in this
Yeah,
game,
World had a really nice. Yeah,
I
World had a really
cruised
nice
through
difficulty
low rank.
curve.
In Wilds, I cruised through low rank without like even having fully upgraded armor and not really paying that much attention to my build, because like even monsters that were unfamiliar, you'd beat in like 12 minutes at most on a
Pretty
50
much.
minutes time limit. And
Yep.
the fights are fun, but they're just not challenging enough, honestly.
Yeah, like previous games in the series balance themselves a little decently, so that like early monsters that theoretically are not that hard compared to stuff later in the game could still be a challenge because you're fighting them with gear made from even earlier monsters, so your stats
Yeah.
just weren't very good yet, and it was pretty decently balanced. This game does not seem to have taken that kind of care. It starts you off with a generous margin for error, which is good for like the very early game, because you don't want to immediately filter out people by making it too hard right at the start.
Yeah.
But then it never loses the margin for error, like
Yeah.
ever, pretty much. I'm sure this is something they can eventually address because they do content updates. The first one came out about 2 weeks ago at time of recording, I think.
Thereabouts.
And Yoke and I played it. Yep, it was a lot of fun, and some of the monsters in it are definitely stronger and harder than what's in the base game.
Yeah,
They just keep doing more of those. We'll eventually reach a point where we're not saying it's too easy anymore.
Yeah.
But base game sold at retail at time of recording, not as challenging as I wanted it to be.
Yeah. I do want to shout out another thing I did really like, which was the bigger emphasis on story. Obviously, we've talked about like some of the ways it was implemented were frustrating, but I really like especially the theme of environmentalism and how the actions of the humans that are in the environment, but also the wildlife in that environment, can have an effect on it. It was something that I was kind of missing in the story of World, because in both of them you're part of the research commission, and your primary job is to do like biological, like zoological research and exploring areas that have previously not been explored by the research commission, making maps, charting what wildlife there is, how the environment changes that wildlife, that kind of thing. And in World, it always just sort of felt like a very flimsy thing of like, well, the best way to find out what's going on with this monster is to kill it and dissect it, because it is still a Monster Hunter game, you know? But here, the themes of the story, I don't know, they're more focused on the actual environmentalism aspect, which I thought was a good development. I really liked it.
I agree that the themes are a little stronger. I actually think the presentation and the pacing of it is not actually as good, because like you're not wrong when you say World was very basic with the story, but World actually did a pretty good job of juggling a couple threads at once, because it's like at any given time there's usually 3 things happening simultaneously. Number 1 is, hey, a new monster was just spotted, go find out about it. Then number 2 is, oh, that really, really big monster that we followed to this new continent, yeah, we still don't know where it is, we're looking into it, and every third quest or so is like, hey, we think we might have found a clue, please follow up on that. And then stuck in between those will be, hey, this recurring mini-boss monster has been sighted, go find it so-and-so. So there was at least a, like, contextually, it wasn't just, hey, go fight this thing over and over. It felt like you were actually trying to keep tabs on important things.
For sure. The story in Wilds is a lot more linear.
Yeah, here it feels very linear and straightforward, which, while the themes play nicely with the stronger emphasis on characters and stuff, the fact that the story is so much more straightforward and linear doesn't help with the characters and such very much, because if we're always focusing on the same character over and over, that's a lot of time to spend with those characters and realize they are a bit flat in places. Like you mentioned Alma, the handler.
Yeah.
And I think we were both in agreement that she is boring.
Yeah, she's like, she's just generally chipper. That's her thing. She's chipper. And
yeah, she's demure and motherly and kind of takes care of Nata, the little kid we mentioned. And she feels a little bit like a overreaction to the handler from World, if we're being honest.
Yeah,
because the one from World was quirky.
People hated the handler from World. I don't get it. I think those people are whiny babies. But I agree. They definitely overcorrected with Alma.
Yeah, like the handler from World, the worst you can say about her is that my cat likes her more than the cat likes me, and I will never forgive her for that. But other than that, I'm fine with her. Like, she was just kind of like, she was quirky and had a thing for eating ridiculous amounts of food, and that was kind of it.
Yeah.
And I guess that rubbed people the wrong way, because with this one, it's like, what if we try to make a character with as little agency and personality as possible?
Also, going back to a not very good choice in implementing gameplay, the fact that you can start quests from anywhere means that she's always there with you when you're hunting. And so sometimes she'll chime in on like, hey, don't forget to carve that monster part, which, for new players is a nice thing to have. But if you're like us and have played multiple hundreds of hours of this game series, and even of this game period, you don't need that reminder anymore, and there's no way I found to turn that off. Also, when you're fishing, sometimes she will just stand in front of you and you cannot see.
Yep. So, if it sounds like we're only bringing up the annoying bits, I mean, you're not wrong. We are talking mostly about the annoying bits. I want to emphasize, I played over 100 hours of this game, and I had a good time for like at least 90 of those.
Yeah, I played it last night still. Like, I'm playing it all the time. I want to, again, I want to emphasize that, like, the complaints we have cause for frustrations, and in general, I think World is better, but I think comparing World to Wilds is like comparing a 9.5 to an 8.5. Like, we don't like give number scores on this podcast, but that's sort of how I would conceptualize it.
I'm inclined to be in the same ballpark. Yeah. Like, if you're thinking about trying a Monster Hunter game because you've never played one before, I would strongly suggest try Worlds first. Like, World is better. If you liked World and you want more, then absolutely get into Wilds. Like, if it will give you what you want, it might just also give you some things you might not want on top of that, but that's an acceptable trade-off for how good it is.
I don't know if I agree, honestly, because, like, Wilds, for all of its faults, is definitely the most approachable the series has ever been. And that has caused, for better or worse, like it has lost some of the friction that made earlier Monster Hunter entries more interesting. Like we haven't even talked about the Sacred yet, the like bird lizard that you ride around and can theoretically take you straight to the monster without any inputs from you, which
Yeah, I
makes
actually
the
really didn't like that part.
exploration a lot worse.
Yeah.
It like puts a lot less time between you and getting to the hunt, and if that's just what you're here for, then fine. But they put a lot of work into these environments. There's a lot of cool things to find, but if like you just do that, you're never going to find them.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying, like, you play, like, start with World, and I can say that because that's where I started. I can vouch from personal experience. World is a perfectly fine place to start with this franchise.
Yeah.
What?
I think Wilds is the best way of learning the combat, because it's like its combat tutorials are the best I've experienced, even going back to older ones. Which I mean, like, I guess buying Wilds for full price to use as a tutorial maybe not the most attractive prospect. But I think it's definitely still worth playing and worth trying. But I do. Yeah, no, I'm coming around on it. I think you should play World first. Yeah, no.
Got there.
Yeah, you talked me into it.
But what about Rise? Where does that fit into this?
If you own a Switch, get it on Switch. Because being able to play Rise on the go is amazing. Like, I had a year of my life where I worked a job that I frankly detested. And one of the only things keeping me going on the days where I had to go in there was the 50-minute long bike ride, which is
bus ride.
Bus ride, which that's exactly enough to get in. Well, one extremely difficult hunt where you need every single minute, or two easier hunts where you could take it a little more easily. That sustained my life during that year. So highly recommend it if you're the kind of person who has a commute or a lifestyle where a mobile game is like easily accommodated. On PC, it's still a good Monster Hunter game.
It is. I've played it.
Gameplay wise, they do a lot of stuff in Rise that I do like and is a nice quality of life improvement. It just doesn't quite deliver on like spectacle and exploration and world building in the way that World and Wilds did.
Because Rise is more in the spirit of like the older Monster Hunter games, with like a very clear divide between village quests and hub quests, but it also brings the series combat wise closer to sort of like a Devil May Cry style action game than the series has ever been. Because you had the wirebug system that gave you all these extra moves. You had so much mobility. You could just wall run from the get-go. That it is a very, very good game. And I think if you're purely looking at the combat, I think I prefer the combat in Rise to both World and Wilds. But everything else around the game was just less good.
I don't know that I could follow you across that particular chasm, but otherwise, yeah. I think the combat, my favorite iteration of the combat was World once the Iceborne expansion came out and added like extra features for all the weapons.
Yeah, Clutch Claw, baby.
The combat in Rise is very nice, though. Not gonna lie. So yeah. Check them out for yourself sometime. See which one catches your eye. Don't take just our word for it.
Yeah, we're a bunch of grognards at this point. Like we're old heads. Back in our day, back in our day, or at least back in my day, whetstones were consumable items, and you could run out of them. What a pain in the butt that was.
Well, going from this complex combat system and world-building storytelling gameplay to something I just beat in, I would probably say, under 2 hours. I have played some Ufouria, the Saga 2. Now, dear listeners who have been with us for the long haul would remember that on episode 13, Evil Euphoric Trick, I actually discussed playing the Hebereke. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right.
Hebereke, yeah.
Hebereke, thank you, Helga. Hebereke Enjoy Edition, which was sort of the their re-release of the original Famicom game, which was then converted into Ufouria for, I believe, the PAL regions on the Nintendo. It wasn't ever released in the Americas. In the last year, they actually re-released the sequel to this, Ufouria, the Saga 2.
Ooh.
This was this is developed by Sumscott and published by Red Art Games and Sun Corporation. So this is the sequel to that. The original was a sort of a proto Metroidvania. You had four characters. You had four characters who would go around the place picking up certain items, and you could go. You were locked out of certain rooms if you didn't have a certain ability. And this is a sequel to that. This game, it's called Ufouria the Saga 2, which implies it has the characters from because they revised two characters, but no, they actually used the original Japanese characters. So this is Hebe and Ochan. They were the original Japanese characters.
Right.
And so, this game sort of still plays much like a sort of like a proto Metroidvania, but it is more stripped back in that. Whereas the original, it was you had this sort of a start area whenever you started up the game or whenever you died, and you would go back. You would at least just be going around. You could warp between certain sections, but it was effectively one big world. This game, however, you still have sort of a hub world, which is Hebe's house, which is just little more than on a tree, a bed, and a toilet. And said toilet is used to wash their face.
Yup.
Like you do. Please don't
like
do
you
that.
go. Like you go in, they go in, and they wash their face. They go, how refreshing. Yep, you pose. So refreshing. It has got a lot of that literal toilet humor. The original Japanese game, you had this bird character who would literally drop a dump. An actual dump. This was actually changed to a 10-ton weight in the PAL version.
Cowards.
They did. Well, they learned from that. And now it's a big old dump.
Hell yeah.
Which has quite the impact once it hits you.
Real Category 5 Dooker.
But in this game, you effectively you have a world map, but rather than actually just go around sort of everything's sort of interconnected. Everything's connected via the one hub, and then you would say, okay, I'm going to go left. I'm going to explore one area, and then it's going to go to an end section, and then I have this bird character who can transport me to back to my hub world, back to the hub world, or continue on. And then if you continue on more to the left to get that sort of that's past that second section, then that bird character will be there, and then going back and sort of. Every road leads back to the central section. You're sort of not just going around and sort of like here, then everywhere. So it's sort of you visit one section and then you either continue on until you get to the far end and then go back, or you just go to that section and go back, which is sort of, I'd probably say, a little bit disappointing, at least with like Metroid, Castlevania. You can sort of go around the place.
Yeah.
And in that, they thought of this because they thought, this is going to be pretty boring for some people. So, in this game, you upgrade your abilities by collecting coins, and then you also collect, I think, like drink cans. And so you need a certain amount of drink cans to be able to. You have this vending machine in your home, and the drink can is sort of a way of like a leveling system. where you don't actually use them. You just have to have a certain amount to be able to qualify to be able to purchase an item.
Okay.
So you'll get So you get items like you can use suction cap with the main character. You'll get there's Hibe, Ochan, Suzemon, and Jennifer. Jennifer, they were the sort of a toad-like character that could sort of each of these characters Hibe's sort of the main sort of standard character. Ochan can sort of float on water.
Right.
Suzemon is a sort of a ghost character that can sort of, when they jump up, they float down, so you can use that to get over longer ledges. And Jennifer is sort of, they can go underwater, like walk around underwater, and they have a bomb ability.
Cool.
Yeah, and so you use that, but that was sort of somewhat of an integral part towards like the previous game, whereas this one sort of you use those to sort of unlock, go into like a smaller section of a level. Like, oh, there's a treasure chest there if I use this bomb ability, or get to collecting cans. And like there's a certain amount of cans in a section, but not all cans are going to be in that section when you play through it. But the thing is, there's like 3 or 4 for each section. There's like 3 or 4 variants of it. So you replay it, and that's when you sort of that shows you how to actually that's how you can like collect all the cans.
Okay, so it's like a little bit roguelike-y? Just like a gentle garnish of roguelike?
Very gentle, like a
Roguish.
sprinkling of it. Very light.
Yeah. Homeopathic roguelike.
So it's, you sort of, I understand, this sort of you can't really do like a really big game, but I would have thought at least more leaned into the Metroidvania style. But I enjoyed what I played. Visually it's quite appealing. It's sort of got a
It looks
sort
very
of
cute.
a Yoshi's, like a Woolly's World crafted, sort of like a mix between Yoshi's Woolly World and like Aardvark Studios, like Wallace and Gromit.
Aardman.
Mm-hmm.
Or some guys, Arkman. So sorry. Why am I thinking Aardvark?
It's close.
But very shortish game. Once you get the idea of it, it took me about just under a couple of hours. I got it on special. It was half off, so it was about $18 Australian wise. So full price is $36. And normally I don't complain. I should have if you enjoy the game, doesn't matter what game the price is. In those instances, I think like $36 for something just. I would expect I shouldn't expect, but I was hoping something like a few hours, like say 5 hours or something.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable thing to want. Like you want something for your buck.
Depends on the quality of the hours.
Yeah.
It depends on the quality of the hours. But even then, I'm like, for that kind of money, you could have gotten like movie tickets.
Yeah.
For a much more. I mean, I guess also depending on the movie, but you know what I mean. Those that's money that could have bought you 2 hours of a much higher threshold.
Yeah, you could have gone to see Sinners instead.
Hashtag not sponsored.
Yeah, it's just a great movie. I'm seriously considering seeing it again.
Same. But no, I enjoy my time with it. If you do end up getting on special, I would say give it a go. But yeah, that's my time with Ufouria, the Saga 2. And now continuing from that, Hilka, you've been playing some internal strands.
Yeah, like Monster Hunter and unlike Ufouria 2, this is also a really long game. Fun fact, a little peek behind the curtain.
Some might say.
A little peek behind the curtain for you listeners at home. I was supposed to talk about this on the previous episode, but then I became unavailable due to previously established family shenanigans. So this was like my This was like my I'm gonna play this and finish it before Monster Hunter Wilds comes out game. And boy, did I ever. I got kind of obsessed with this game for a while. It was really, really good. You should all play it, and I'm about to tell you why. First off, I love a debut game that has this much promise. It's by Yellow Brick Games, a studio founded by Mike Laidlaw, who was the creative director for Dragon Age back in the day, and other key people are formerly of Ubisoft. The basic gist, it's a sort of fantasy extraction game with some Monster Hunter and Dragon's Dogma elements. You are part of a group of weavers, which is the magic users of this fantasy world. You're looking for info on the Enclave, which was a hub of magical research and innovation. 50 years ago, they had an accident that caused magic to malfunction all over the world. Put a big barrier around the Enclave. Nobody can access it, and you want to try and get in and access like the magical secrets and research that were previously thought to be lost. Something goes wrong, you find a one-time only way through the barrier, and now you're stuck. And yep. And the bulk of the game is going to the different zones, finding clues, finding resources, finding the people that still live there, talking to them, creating relationships with them, and slowly trying to find your way to get out of the Enclave with all the stuff you have now gathered. I bring up extraction because I admit, I could be wrong about this, it's not a genre I've ever played, but the basic gist of like the gameplay loop is there are a number of zones that you can access and more get unlocked over the course of the game, and then you go into one of them and you just explore, and you find resources, be it like little bits of wood or different kinds of textiles, and you bring those back, and with those you can craft gear. And with them also you can unlock like inventory upgrades for your spells, all that kind of stuff. And in every zone there's also a very big monster. This is where the Monster Hunter and Dragon's Dogma comes in. It's either a big sort of mech, like Magitech, or it's a big animal monster thing. And fighting them will get you crafting materials to upgrade your magic spells. It's like Monster Hunter and Dragon's Dogma because you can jump on them and climb them, and you're going to have to attack their weak points. Kind of like Shadow of the Colossus as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They have individual parts that you can attack that, say, for like if you go for the Ashmouth Drake, taking out both of it, like attacking both of its wings and getting them to low enough health means it can't fly anymore.
Temporarily, or like for the rest of the fight?
For the rest of the fight.
Ooh, nice.
And there's two ways of defeating one of these big enemies. First is you just get their hit points to 0. And the other is
Classic.
You have to attack certain weak points, which will unlock like a core somewhere on their body, which you can then extract. And that's how you get the upgrade for the magic spell. That is the only way to get those upgrades, so you're going to have to do it. It does make the fights both harder and easier, which I do really appreciate. Because it makes them harder because you have to be specific about what you attack, because if you get the monster's health to 0 before you fulfill the requirements, tough luck, can't get the crafting material. But it also makes it easier in the sense that once you have exposed the core and you extract it, regardless of how much health the monster has left, the fight is now over. You have won.
Ooh.
Nice.
And you also get crafting materials from the big monsters and the small monsters that you can turn into gear. I keep saying crafting a lot because the crafting system in this game slaps. It rules. I love it. It's the most creative crafting system I've seen in ages. There's different categories of materials: tanned, forged, carved, and woven. And combinations of these materials can be used to make gear, new armor, new weapons, new elements for those weapons. But they will only have a requirement of like, okay, you need 20 woven materials, 10 crafted materials, 5 more woven, and 2 forged. And you can use any kinds of those materials for those categories. And which kinds of those materials you use will change not only the stats of your gear, but also the appearance of your gear, and give it like special properties like better or worse elemental resistances. And you can swap out, like you can reforge the gear at any time to get materials back, improve them. You don't have to keep making new gear for every new kind of like, ooh, I want this piece of armor, but it has fire resistance now. You can just swap it out.
Ooh, that is very nice, yeah.
Yeah, It's so sick. I am going to say there are, of course, some less good things about this game. It is a little janky. But I think that a lot of that jank is sort of intentional for creating like cool, interesting situations and water cooler moments. Because one of the type of magic is kinetic magic, physics-based stuff. You pick up stuff in the environment and throw it at people. You can like, there's like these armored enemies that carry like shields and spears, and you can use one of the kinetic spells to literally rip their shield out of their hand and throw it at them. You know?
Cool.
And with this physics system comes just a bit of jank. Sometimes you will just like, a monster does like a big area of effect attack, and you will get thrown halfway across the map. Not even exaggerating when I say halfway across the map. But I think I like it better that way, to be honest, because if it was just like smooth and slick and streamlined, I don't think it would have made for those funny little interesting moments. And they have done some amount of adjustments, like in like the launch build compared to how it is now, your character was a little more slippery in their movement, and they've tweaked that a little bit. But a lot of the physics jank is just here to stay because that's how they wanted it to be, which I respect that.
It sometimes it's nice having a little bit of pepper on the salad, you know?
Exactly. I haven't really talked about the story much, but I do really dig it. The fantasy world they've created is mostly relatively standard, but I do like that there's, similar to Claire Obscure, Expedition 33 has a very like paintings theme. This has a fabrics theme. You know, spells are weavers. Titles that characters have are like the loom and the spindle. There's just an undercurrent of fabrics and weaving and sewing and all that kind of thing. And I like the theming behind that. There's some cool like political intrigue stuff. Some really cool character moments that I'm not going to spoil because you really should see them. There's an arc that one of the characters, Casmin, the quartermaster of your group, gets that I really, really like. But Sevastians and Orims, who are other characters in your Weaver band, their arcs are also really good. Voice acting is top-notch. They all brought so much personality to the characters. It was very weird having just like the narrator for Baldur's Gate 3 be one of the main villains. With like just exactly the same voice as she used in Baldur's Gate 3.
To be fair, it's a great voice.
It is a great voice. Also, music, top to bottom banger. Austin Wintory knocks it out of the park once again. I paid actual money to buy the album on Bandcamp. I've listened to it a lot while playing like D&D. It's great. I think my main complaint is I wish there was more variety in the smaller enemies. Obviously, the big boss fight monsters are really cool, and even when you're like late in the game and have really good gear, they can still kick your butt if you're not ready for them. Like, they deal so much damage and have just devastating attacks. But the smaller monsters, there's really not that many of them, especially because some of the monsters are just variants on already existing ones. There's like the wolf type enemy, and then there's the ice wolf enemy. You know, uh,
Palette
espe-
swapping.
yeah. I mean, they did like have different like combat effects and stuff, but broadly speaking, the animations were the same, and the strategies were
Yeah.
relatively similar in fighting them. So that made the runs for like, especially if you're just, I am going in there to gather as many resources as possible and just not deal with the story right now. It made it all feel a little samey. Sometimes it made those runs feel a little samey sometimes, where it's just like, oh boy, it's the archer enemy again, and it's the kinetic archer this time, which is slightly more annoying, but it's, you fight them the exact same way as the other archer enemies, you know?
Aren't all archers kinetic? Like, kinetic archer implies that every other kind of archer is some kind of psychic archer.
Well, there's like fire and ice archers as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
yes.
yeah, kinetic is like with like physics and gravity and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was just the gameplay loop or the fact that the story and the characters were so interesting, but I legit was just obsessed with this game for like 3 to 4 weeks. I spent so much time playing it. I played it on Xbox. It ran really well. I played it through Game Pass. Fun fact, I don't have a Game Pass subscription anymore, so I currently can't access the post-release free update that they've done with a new zone and a new monster. So sorry, can't talk about that one. But it's on Steam for like 40 euros. And I assume it's the same price on consoles as well. I have not been obsessed with a new game this hard since Monster Hunter Rise came out. And I guess now Monster Hunter Wilds as well. Again, I wrote this before Wilds came out. But yeah, I have not been obsessed with a game like this since, unless it's like Monster Hunter. And that should tell you something. This game rules. You should play it. You should buy it. You should tell your friends. I want the studio to make more games because this one was excellent.
Hell yeah.
Nice. All right. And Seska, you've been playing some Marathon Infinity. How's that gone for you?
Well, funny thing about that, I was going to talk about Marathon Infinity, except I didn't really have a lot of nice things to say about it, but I know that game is near and dear to a lot of people, and I didn't want to be a stick in the mud, so I figured I'd just play something else, talk about that instead. Something less divisive, less polarizing, less controversial. So I played Daikatana.
Excuse me?
Oh no.
I played John Romero's Daikatana all the way through.
I'm sorry?
Because you didn't want to say bad things about a game.
No, I didn't want to say bad things about a game people liked. So, this handily solves that problem.
I see, yeah.
Oh, gather around and I shall tell you a tale.
Oh, you best explain yourself.
All right. First things first, want to get this up front right here, right now. Anyone thinking of playing this game in 2025, you're going to want to download the fan-made 1.3 patch. It lets you turn off the AI companions, fixes a whole bunch of bugs and crashes. It's a real labor of love. You should 100% install it. I didn't. That was a mistake.
No. See, you just wanted the fresh, the way it's supposed to be.
That was my reasoning. You're not wrong. I wanted the authentic experience. The authentic experience had a truckload of technical issues, including a level that was guaranteed to crash if I ever saved in it. Not when you save, but later on, at a mini-boss fight. And it also gave me a strange problem with my resolution that I couldn't resolve no matter how hard I tried, so my fancy new gaming PC was stuck running this thing at a blistering 1024 by 768.
Oofa doofa.
High res.
And that's nothing compared to the problems with the AI companions. Like, I looked this up in the manual. The manual claims your sidekicks
quote,
are here to help you.
Your sidekicks are here to help you
and enhance your gameplay experience.
End
This
quote.
is a lie, and the sick,
This
cruel
is a
joke
lie,
at the
and
expense
the
of
sick,
the player. Cruel joke at the expense of the player. The truth is, by volume, about 70% of this game is about 70% of this game is you're escorting don't know how ladders work.
Oh my god.
The pathfinding is
God.
genuinely some of the worst I've ever seen in my life.
some of the worst I've
Your
ever seen in my
companions have
life.
no concept of the splash damage on the weapons that they're using, even though friendly fire is very much a thing and cannot be turned off.
very much a thing and cannot
If
be
you
turned
don't
off.
have the fan patch
No.
installed, then
Don't
your
have the
companions
fan
can
patch
also
installed,
die,
then
which
your
is an
companions
instant
can
game
also
over. Die, which is an
Oh,
instant
God.
game over.
Oh god.
The worst part is you can't
The
finish
worst
a
part
level
is you can't
until
finish
your
a
companions,
level
until
both of
your
them are at the
companions,
exit.
both of them,
As
are at the
immortalized in
exit.
the classic meme,
As immortalized in the
can't
classic
leave without
meme,
my buddy
I
Superfly.
can't leave
Without my buddy Superfly.
So you either have to bring them
Oh,
along,
God.
risk them walking in front of
God.
your weapons, and your weapons are already
inconvenient enough,
are
let me tell
already
ya.
inconvenient enough.
Or
let me
you have
tell
to
ya. Park your companions at the
Or you
start
have
of the
to
level,
park
and
your
then go
companions at
all
the
the way
start of the
back
level,
when you're
and then
done,
go
so you
all
can
the way
shepherd them
back
through
when
the
you're done,
environment.
so you can
It's
shepherd them through the environment.
incredibly
It's
tedious.
Because do they get
Incredibly
stuck
tedious.
on geometry a lot as well? Like,
Yes.
oh no.
Like- They get stuck on geometry, they get stuck on stairs, they get stuck on ladders, they get stuck on doors sometimes, even though ostensibly they know how to open them. They will
Oh.
collect ammo and health that you haven't collected if they think they need it. Sometimes you'll order them to pick up specific ammo and weapons because they don't have any and you want them to have some, or they have something with a lot of splash damage and you want them without splash damage, and they'll just say, nah, I'm good. Then
I'm
why do I even have this dedicated key to order you around? I don't know.
I'm getting mad just hearing this. Like, I would be pulling my hair out. I would be pulling my hair out within an hour, I think.
Wait till you hear about the weapons, because the vast majority of them are very weird and very difficult to use efficiently. They all have weird-ass gimmicks. Like, there's this snake staff that spits poison blobs, which bounce and ricochet. So if you miss your intended target, you'll probably end up poisoning yourself because the blob will hit the wall behind the target and bounce right back in your face.
And there's also friendly fire, so it might hit the AI companions as well.
Yep.
Oh.
Or how about the shotgun, called the Shot Cycler, where a single pull of the trigger fires 6 shots in a row, which pretty much guarantees you're going to waste ammo because nothing takes 6 shots to kill. Well, okay, so by the end of the game, some things will have enough health to withstand that, but guess what? That just means you need to fire more than 6 shots.
Yeah.
Thankfully, each of the game's 4 episodes, they all have like at least 1 or 2 workhorse weapons that actually work how you'd expect them to. And the titular Daikatana itself actually works very well once you upgrade it. But even that comes with an asterisk, because every time you level up the Daikatana, it gets covered in more and more shiny lightning effects, so by the end of the game, it genuinely hurt my eyes to look at it.
Oh my god. And it like
Is this like a
Which was-
Kingdom Hearts 3 situation?
Yep.
We're using.
And it was a problem because that was by far and away my best weapon, so it's either do you want to give yourself a headache or do you want to make progress? Like, But the worst part, the absolute worst part, is that this is where my whole premise of picking something less divisive falls apart at the seams. Because despite
Yeah.
everything I just told you, I have a horrible confession to make. I like Daikatana. I sincerely enjoyed myself after the first episode, and I unironically recommend that our listeners try it out sometime.
with the patch.
Yes, with the patch, absolutely. Don't repeat my mistakes. Because, yeah, this game gets just enough things right that the many, many, many things it gets wrong usually come off as funny rather than frustrating. Like, the impractical gimmick weapons, the charmingly terrible cutscene choreography, the fact that the faces all look like chainsaw carvings of the California raisins, and also they don't have animations on the faces, so everybody just bobs their head up and down like you're watching an early Red vs. Blue season.
Mm.
Ugh. The way that drowning depletes not just your health, but also your armor because reasons. Like,
God.
it all just comes together to form this weirdly endearing checklist of how not to make a video game. It's gloriously stupid. And that's not even getting into the things this game actually does really well, like the player movement, which is smoother than a mink being voiced by Keith David. It has just enough weight and momentum that it's not floaty, but otherwise it's fast, tight, smooth, responsive. It's a kinesthetic joy to play, and I'm not kidding when I say that. Also, real talk, we gotta talk about the soundtrack. Daikatana has the best soundtrack I've heard since Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. That's not a joke.
Damn.
Ooh.
Go into the options menu, turn up the music, and turn down the sound effects, because the music deserves to take center stage, and also the sound effects in this game are an awful cacophony of blaring noise. I don't know what they were thinking with that. But yeah. Episode 1, it's set in Cyberpunk Japan, circa 2445 AD. The episode itself is awful. It's the worst part of the game. I don't know why they led off with the worst part. The music, it's Deus Ex. It's awesome. Turn of the Millennium techno and electronica. I love it. Episode 2,
Nice.
Ancient Greece now. Guess what? It sounds like Tales of Symphonia because we completely switch gears. We're in full-on orchestral, like grandiose RPG adventure mode. 100% works. One of the Grease tracks is so good that the game later recycles it for the final boss fight. And good thing too, because it meant I had something nice to say about the final boss fight. Episode 3, Medieval Norway. Boom. Everything sounds like Diablo, and I mean like top shelf cream of the crop Diablo with like wistful minor key loots and everything. Unironically good stuff. Episode 4, gritty 21st century Alcatraz. It starts off sounding like Vampire the Masquerade with like late 90s industrial, and then it takes a hard turn and sounds like Terminal Velocity because we're getting all like synth beats up in here.
Okay.
None of what I've just said goes together at all, but each track individually is a banger and perfectly fits its respective level.
Yeah.
I love the soundtrack to this game so much.
Nice.
And look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Daikatana is a good game, actually. No, it's not. Like, it isn't, and I'm far from the first person to say so. But just because something isn't good doesn't mean it isn't fun.
Yeah.
Like, this is gaming's answer to films like The Room or Rocky Horror Picture Show. It has to be played to be believed, and I'm genuinely glad that I did.
See,
It's
this is
stupid.
what I keep telling you about why I've watched so much Supernatural.
I still say at least like 50% of that is just sunk cost fallacy, but you do you, fam.
Yeah.
Yeah, this game is stupid, it's frequently ugly, it's rife with technical issues, it's adorably overambitious, and one of the main characters' name is Superfly Johnson.
Yeah.
But I can't deny that I enjoyed myself in spite or perhaps even because of those things. It's a fun game, and sometimes even on purpose. Like,
Would this be? Well, let me ask you, Sestra. Given with remakes and re-releases, would this be deserving of, say, a Night Dive Studios re-release?
Oh.
I want that on the condition that there is a toggle in the menu for old school where it reintroduces the bugs.
But just with some quality of life improvements that were in the patch you mentioned, you know?
Oh
Like,
yeah, absolutely. And I should say, the version that's on Steam now, that's the 1.2 version. That includes a toggle in the options for infinite saves. Turn that on. Please turn that on. Do yourself a favor. I would not be endorsing this game if I didn't have that feature, because the game originally shipped without infinite saves. The game originally had a system where you had to find an extremely limited resource called save crystals. And you could only save if you had a save crystal, and you could carry a maximum of 3 at a time.
That sucks. Why
Oh,
would
yeah.
you do that? That's awful.
it's terrible, and it was one of the number one things people complain about, besides all the other things people complain about. So they patched it in for version 1.2. Highly recommend using that. It's actually very funny. I've been playing the next game released by Ion Storm as of late, Anachronox, and that has save points in universe, but also conspicuously has an option in the menu for turning on infinite saves if you feel like it, just whenever you want, my guy, no biggie. Yeah. And it's clear that was them taking on board the feedback from Daikatana and like cramming that feature in at the last minute just to like hedge their bets. Oh, I love it. A game so bad it traumatized the entire studio.
Yeah. So
and bankrupt them.
I have like two things I wanted to say about my experiences with Daikatana. Obviously, like, it's not a very good game, but I think it has the reputation it has because of the aggressive marketing campaign for it compared to how bad the game was. And I think that made people say it, like, think it was way worse. And also it started on its worst level, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
And two, isn't like the
okay.
Nintendo 64 version of Daikatana like shockingly good?
You're very close. The N64 version is actually terrible. Take everything about the PC version, now have it run at a third of the frame rate with a third of the content. It's terrible. If you want the dank stuff, if you want pure, uncut, pristine Daikatana, you want the Game Boy Color version.
That was like a top-down shooter, right?
It was technically, yeah. It's like if a 2D Zelda game was a top-down shooter.
Yeah.
It's actually like by far the most coherent and complete form of the story because every other version of the game suffered under massive developer crunch. For those who don't know, Daikatana was a game that started life on the Quake 1 engine, and partway through development, Quake 2 came out on a new engine, and John Romero was like, you know what? This looks better. We should like retool the game. We should upgrade it to the Quake 2 engine. And they thought that was going to be like 4 to 6 months. It took like almost 2.5 years. And millions and millions of dollars. Fun fact, this game indirectly killed Looking Glass Studios because both studios worked for the same publisher at the time, Eidos Interactive, and Daikatana's budget bloated so badly that the money wasn't actually there to keep Looking Glass afloat during a very spotty period of their financing. Like, they had just released Thief 2 to Middle Age, which is a great game that sold pretty well, but the money took too long to get to them, and so the company had to shut down. It's very sad.
There's a
weird
great
twist of fate, though. Go ahead.
Yeah. There's a great episode of What Happened by Matt McMuscles on YouTube that goes into a lot of like the business side of what happened with Daikatana and that kind of stuff that you mentioned with Looking Glass Studios as well. You should check it out if you haven't already.
You should also check out the CV11 video on that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That is one of Civi's absolute best. Yeah,
yes.
Like there's a lot of historical background and context to Daikatana that's genuinely really interesting without a hint of irony. Like, it's clearly the game that John Romero wanted Quake 1 to be and then didn't get to make, so he made his own Quake with blackjack and hookers, by which I mean Bugs and Superfly Johnson. And I suppose, yeah, for the uninitiated, I should at least bring up the advertising campaign that Hyuka was referring to, because I dare say Daikatana has the most infamous marketing any game has ever had, because in 1997, before they even switched over to the Quake 2 engine, they put out a poster. Quote, "John Romero is going to make you his bitch. Suck it down."
The 90s, ladies and gentlemen.
Two things about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Two things about that. Number one, did you know that they trademarked Suck It Down?
Really?
Not a joke. I looked it up. That trademark has since lapsed, so it's there if you want to snatch it up.
You know the weird thing for me? I was just certainly remember hearing one of the monsters in Duke Nukem 3D say that.
It was big in the
Ah.
90s, is
Yeah.
my only explanation I could think of, yeah. And secondly, John Romero himself will be the first to tell you that was a terrible ad and he shouldn't have run it. Like, he didn't come up with it. That was Mike Wilson, the Ion Storm head of marketing. And John expressed some hesitation about it, because, like, I want to make it clear, the game isn't devoid of that kind of, like, edgy 90s attitude, per se. Like, oh, God. Every time you quit the game, because, every time you quit the game, because, you have other things to do in your life, the game actively judges you for it. Like, it'll be like, normally you'd have, like, are you sure you want to quit the game? This game has, like, 27 variations on, are you gonna quit on this game just like you quit on everything else in your life?
God.
And I'm just like, my dude, my guy, knock it off.
Oh,
So
tiny little
I don't
baby
mean-
doesn't want to play anymore.
Congratulations. You just quoted one verbatim.
God.
That's that was from the Doom.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah, like, there's stuff, there's allusions to Romero's previous works in Doom, but my favorite is actually, there's an early bit in a crematorium, because the bad guy has a crematorium in his evil factory, don't worry about it. And there's, like, this sort of, somber chapel music playing on a little chapel organ. And I was like, where do I know that melody from? And I'm like, it's a minor key version of At Doom's Gate.
That's good.
and did you say that was at a chapel?
Well, it's played on, like, a chapel organ. It's inside of a crematorium. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I was thinking, I remember going back to Duke Nukem 3D. I remember in the third level, where you're actually in Death Row, there's a chapel in there.
Ooh.
And there's a secret section in there. When you go into it, there's a mutilated Doom Marine body, and Duke Nukem goes, "Damn, that's one Doom Space Marine."
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I'm thinking these things.
Yeah, this game, like I said, it does some Doom references. There's, like, one Quake reference. Like, it can be hard to tell apart all of the terrible faces in this game, but one character late game looks the way he does on purpose, because he's meant to kind of look like Ranger from Quake. And one of the voice actors, John Galt, people might recognize as the voice of Lo Wang from Shadow Warrior.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, that's actually something I'm going to bring up. One of the only things I don't like about this game, in a this isn't actually very funny kind of way, most of the characters are Japanese. Nobody in the cast is Japanese. There's a lot of people doing extremely questionable accents, and John Galt is kind of the number one offender on that list.
Yeah. I was going to ask about part 1 being set in future cyberpunk Tokyo. Yeah.
And I mean, it is kind of adorable to see John Romero go through his weeb phase.
Yeah.
Like, that part is fun. That part's fine. But yeah, the voice acting, ideally, of course, you would just get Asian actors, but that was apparently a lot to ask in the 90s. Failing that, just tell people to tone down the accents. I don't think that would have been hard.
Yeah.
Although, for context for the people listening at home, Hyoka and I very recently started playing Borderlands 3 together, and Hyoka, I have terrible news.
Yeah.
Like half the cast of Daikatana is in Borderlands 3.
Oh boy.
Mostly it's just little bit parts, but the voice of Brick Same guy who did the voice for Superfly Johnson.
Nice.
Still getting work after all these years. Also, and speaking of the credits, I need to... Look, I'm not here to throw stones. I love this game for all of its jankiness, but one person in the credits did catch my eye. That's Charles Kostick. He was one of the programmers. This man has 2 credits I could find anywhere. Like, across the entire internet. I checked. 2 credits. Programmer on Daikatana. Programmer on Duke Nukem Forever.
Oh.
I think I know who to blame for the bad AI companions. I'm sure he's a lovely guy, but yeah. If you're curious, and I hope you are, like, I want people to experience this game. It's an important part of gaming history, if nothing else. Like, the story of the marketing thing alone is worth a read, because John Romero was very hesitant about that ad, or at least the way he tells it, specifically about like, putting his own name on it. He was worried that people would blame him more, like, if people were going to get mad, they were going to get mad at him more so than the game. And he was half right, because they just ended up being mad at both. Like, that backlash was so fierce. It's the reason that American McGee was, like, you've heard of, like, American McGee's Alice, right? The Alice games?
Yeah.
Yeah. He fought very hard, ultimately in vain, to keep his name off the game title, because he was worried about a Daikatana situation. He didn't want it to be American McGee's Alice, because he had seen what happened to John Romero's Daikatana.
Yeah.
But yeah, didn't work out. For what it's worth, Romero has since said, that ad was stupid. I apologize. I rescind it. I retract it. If I could take it back, I would. I'm proud of a lot of what we did in that game. I'm not proud of that ad. I wish we had never run it. And more power to you, John, for being honest about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very interesting game. It's a historically important game. And like I said, both on purpose and not so on purpose, it's actually a very fun game. And I had a good time with it. And it's not hard to have a better time than I did if you get the patch. So check it out. It's like $6 on both Steam and Good Old Games. You could probably find like a better way to spend those $6, but I promise you're not going to find one that's even half as memorable. Because I've been like, I'm not going to lie, folks. I've been giddy to record this episode. I've been like, yes, I get to talk about Daikatana.
Yeah, and notably, Zeskra didn't tell us what this part of the episode is going to be. I have received, I asked about it because they were teasing it for like a week or two in our private conversations, and I was like, what can you tell me? And I got a single screenshot of a very blocky looking Space Marine, and that didn't narrow it down at all.
Yeah, you see what I mean with the whole chainsaw carving of a California raisin, right?
Yeah.
That's the guy who's supposed to look like a ranger from Quake, by the way.
Okay.
Oh.
They got the facial expression, right? The sort of like gurn. What do you call that? Other than
Grimace?
lockjaw. Yeah. So yeah. Like, I'm actually kind of working my way through the Ion Storm oeuvre now. I mentioned I was playing Anachronox. I still am. That's probably a better game, technically. It's slightly more finished, I guess. Although, I say that. I'm actually going to take that back right now, because I've had way weirder technical issues with that one, if I'm being honest. It's a more interesting game. Like, we're not going to get into Anachronox right now, but yeah, like, I'm hoping to make my way through a bunch of these, because eventually you also get to the games made by the other Ion Storm team. Ion Storm had 2 teams. There was the one in, I believe, Dallas. That was run by John Romero, and they did Daikatana and Anachronox. And then there was also the one in Austin that was run by Warren Spector. They did a little game you might have heard of called Deus Ex. And in a weird twist of fate, I like to think it's maybe people taking some responsibility. After the collapse of Looking Glass Studios, it was Ion Storm Austin who actually made the next Thief game, Thief Deadly Shadows.
Ah.
Yeah, it all comes full circle. So yeah, check it out. It's $6. You can find it anywhere. I'm pretty sure it goes on sale regularly. Best of luck trying to find the Game Boy Color version, but the PC version, we got you covered.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Gamepodular Unfocused podcast. I have been your host, Scott. Thank you, Hilka. Thank you, Seskra.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for having me for a whole year now, I think.
Congratulations. You're off your probation period now.
Thank you.
I mean, they've got a better attendance record than I do at this point. Like, I can't help it. I'm so busy.
Glad to have the both of you here. All right, in that instance, we will catch you all in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Gamepodular Unfocused podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on iTunes. It really helps us get noticed. You can also listen and subscribe on other podcast services such as Spotify. Make sure to check out our other show, Unfocused. Be sure to join our Discord server to interact with the lively Gamepodular community. Follow us on Mastodon, Blue Sky, YouTube, and at Gamepodular.com for updates, news, and other content. Links are in the show notes. If you'd like to support our shows, you can buy us a coffee or become a Gamepodular Patreon. The details for both are on our website. This episode was edited by myself, and you can follow me at Blue Sky at Scotty J Man. You can also follow Hilka on Blue Sky at Gear12 Turbo or on Mastodon at Gear12 Turbo at kind.social. Seskra doesn't use social media, but they will enthusiastically return any high fives if you ever happen to see them in person.